Welcome on board, dear ladies and gentlemen. My name is Bart. I'll be your captain and guide. That's the idea. And, we're off, huh? Hopefully, nice little boat trip. Everybody understands English on board. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, perfect, huh? So, we have this saying in Dutch that states that the best things in life come in pairs. So, we'll see 2 rivers, 2 canals, and 2 castles during our boat trip. So, the future looks bright. We'll start the guided part of this boat trip officially just across the bridge right there in front of us. A bridge that is called the Grass Bridge. Then we'll go back in time. Yes, so here we are right in the middle of the city center of the city of Ghent. We are physically unable to get any more inside of the city center than we are right now. We are actually in a harbor, a very old harbor, the first commercial harbor of our city, which was built 1000 years ago. On the right hand side, that is the grain quay, and the grass quay is on the left hand side. So we start on the left hand side, make a nice tour. When we come back, we'll have a look at the other side. That's the suggestion of the guide. So well, better to start then with the oldest building in the harbor, which is the grey one right here on our left hand side. It goes back to the 12th century, so in other words, it's around 900 years old, and it used to be a storehouse, a warehouse, one of the many dozens of storehouses that we needed to store the cargo of the many boats, barges of course, that attended the city. So the barges came here, they transferred the cargo via this side, inside of the building, after which the cargo was sold on the other side, where we have the grain market. Very easy in a nutshell, and that's how things went around here. Very important of course was this cargo itself, and this cargo mainly existed out of ingredients for 2 magic words, being bread and beer. Beer and bread, the essence of our culture, really historical essence. Anyway, no, not that much has changed. And on the right there, that cute little building with the blue balcony, well, that was the toll house, tax-paying house, which is still its name nowadays, in Dutch of course. But today it is most probably the smallest pub, the smallest bar that we have in the city. About 8 people can get in there. So it's very exclusive, I might say as well. And it's so small that apparently it's closed, but well, life goes on. Because on the right of that, we see one of the many guild houses we used to have. Guild houses were unions, corporations, people who had the same profession who worked together. And here we see the former guild house of the grain measurers. Now these fellas, they were like the central administration of the harbor, let's say. And we are Belgians, we are very fond of administration. I mean, we have chocolate, fries, beer, waffles, and administration. I would say that is more or less the essence of being Belgian. Apparently that was already the case many centuries before the Kingdom of Belgium even existed. So it's somewhere very deep in our souls. But then, ladies and gentlemen, on the right of the small alley with the ship car at the bottom door. But this beautiful, beautifully restored building used to be the most important building in the harbor.
Oh.
You know why? Because it's my house. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Well, unfortunately it's not my property. That would be, yes, quite something else. But this was my guild house. Yes, this was the guild house of the free skippers, the free boatmen, which were the Ghent'in, the local boatmen. I'm a bit of a local boatman. These guys were, of course, well, extreme, well, next level businessmen, let's say, and they were extremely privileged. They never had to pay toll or taxes or anything at all to make use of the harbor, all its facilities. So, of course, they became very rich. And the free skippers, they were excellent criminals, efficient businessmen. Were truly efficient businessmen. The second richest corporation or guild in the town. Here on the corner, this is the former post office of our city. There's a hotel in there and a supermarket to be found nowadays. St. Michael's Bridge, that is the name of the bridge here right in front of us. And one of the nicknames of Ghent is the 3-Tower City. Have you ever heard it or read this somewhere? Yes. So why is that? Well, let's have a look, shall we? In a few moments, just across the, just around the corner on our left-hand side, our famous medieval skyline. Because that is exactly what it is. There we are, best seat in the house. The 3 towers. So in the back there, that is the cathedral, the St. Bavil's Cathedral, home of the Ghent Altarpiece, very important painting, the adoration of the mystic lamb. In the middle, that is the belfry, a civil building with the dragon, the golden dragon right up there. So please, it's not a chicken, it's not a rooster, it's not a duck or a unicorn. I've heard it too many times. Now, Golden Dragon is also the name of a beer. Very strong. Oh, quite nice. 10.5. Right here in front of us. That is the St. Nicholas Church. So there you go. A postcard in real life. The Three Towers. The Three Tower City. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how many churches do you think that we have here in the city? More or less. Just say something and I'll say more or less. What do you think? Just say something.
30.
30. More.
50.
A little bit more.
55.
Perfect. 1,000 points for yes. 55
Nice.
churches. Yeah. Used to be enough. That was a bit too much, but you know, times change. But yes, 55 churches, that's correct. Now, most of these churches were built by guilds. I had guilds of the bakers, the butchers, the skippers, and all sorts of professions that worked together as a guild. And the guilds who had enough money, well, we wanted to show that a bit, of course. Oh, look how rich, look how important we are. And the best way of doing that was by building your own church. And well, the richer the guild, the larger the church. People will be people. Here on the right-hand side, this is the backside of the largest church in Ghent, the St. Michael's Church, built, yes, by the richest guild in town. And that was the one and only guild of the beer brewers. The beer brewers, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the land of the beer. Yes, they became very rich because they sold lots of beer, of course. Yes, that's obviously the case. But why was everybody here an alcoholic? Well, no, please, let me explain. First on the left hand side you have the preacher's K, and also notice the holes in the K. See, hold there, just several holes, just keep those in mind for a little while. First we go to the other side, this grand grey building here on our right hand side. This is the oldest and largest monastery that we have in the city, from the 13th century, the former Dominican monastery. The first hospital of Ghent used to be right in here, and it was part of the Ghent University until a couple of months ago. But now it's empty, it's vacant, and it will be sold. So if you're looking for a proper investment, ladies and gentlemen, the time is now. It will make a beautiful McDonald's or something. It will be very authentic. Anyway, the small brick building, now this is very small, but this used to be more or less the most important building in the entire harbor, and the entire monastery, because it was the toilet. And well, it was actually the only toilet for the 150 monks brothers who used to live here. Yes, I know. So as you're on the quay, you can imagine a long line of full-grown men waiting, praying, dancing, just to be able to relax. Yes, and as we can see down below there, everything dropped straight into the river. Oh yes, one filthy river. Some people say that the expression "holy shit" has something to do with this type of architecture, but that is only a minority, of course. That's just, you know, just one of those things we'll never know where it comes from. Only to say that the water was extremely polluted, which is an understatement. The water was black. Many diseases flourished all throughout the city center. Not only the holy shit sequence there, also the holes in the quay, just the same thing. All the sewage, all the dirty water went straight into the river, which was a problem, of course, for the people who lived there. And as a consequence of that, everybody that wanted to stay alive, let's say the majority of people, they needed to do something, and that something was, well, drinking beer from the early morning to the late evening. That was the only thing people could think of, could do, that they had access to, let's say. So like a table beer, 1 or 2% of alcohol, but yes, men, women, children as well. Yeah, so we have some children on board. I hope they have had their glass of beer this morning, otherwise it's very, you know, dangerous and unhealthy. You know, brush your teeth while you use some beer. That's how it was. Yes, apparently children slept much better during the Middle Ages than they do nowadays. I have 2 small children at home as well, and I must say I only give whiskey because, you know, I think it's important, you know, that quality is very important, and beer, you know, is just yes, but yes, I've had that beer. I can see it in your eyes. Just kidding. Anyway, here on the right hand side, this is the Onion Quay, and every Sunday morning there's a very nice and cozy second-hand book market that takes place here. So if you love strolling around, love the smell of books in the morning, let's say, this is the place to be for you every Sunday morning. Left hand side, this is the back side of the main shopping street in our city, Waldstraat, Field Street. see this bridge here in front of us. It's a bit the same as the first one. Underneath we entered the harbor, but it's a swing bridge and it swings open instead of tilting open. Okay, and we have 7 of them. You can see the rules there. And the interesting thing, well, I think it's interesting anyway, the man who invented the mechanism of this type of bridges was Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh.
It was based on drawings by it. And apparently it seemed to work. They all still work, by the way. They are opened once a year to see if they still work, and then they remain closed for the next of the year. That's the irony of the bridges. And again, it's barge, a beautiful barge here on the left hand side. Now this is a replica, it's not the original, but the original version of this boat here used to serve as a very posh, very exclusive shuttle service, taxi, direct connection between Bruges and Ghent and Bruges, which was very truly supersonic in those days. It only took around 8 hours to complete the 50 kilometers. It's about a half an hour drive nowadays, if you don't get stuck in traffic, that is. You're always stuck in traffic somewhere. Let's say it takes less than 8 hours nowadays. Yes. Former Palace of Justice, city on the left hand side, and the real hardcore criminals, they were brought back and forth to prison via boats. That's why you see the stairs there as well. A shooting house to protect prisoners. If you are not convicted, you have not been found guilty yet anyway. Yes, we do have 2 rivers in our city. Perhaps you know this, perhaps you don't. The River Lys and the River Scheldt. When these 2 rivers come together, that's actually the place where the city of Ghent was founded 1,400 years ago. And it is also the meaning of the word or the name Ghent. 2 rivers that co-join. So we are right now on the River Lys still. We'll be leaving the River Lys we'll go in a search for the River Scheldt via the oldest canal here in Ghent called Ketelvest, which was hand dug 900 years ago. Right here, this canal on our left hand side, hand dug 900 years ago, simply to have a more efficient connection between both rivers for the barges. And since we have completed this canal here, the historical center, which is right here on our left hand side, is an island. So we have an island right in the middle of the city. Again, all around it there are 2 locks we need to take. We don't use it, we don't do it, you know, every boat trip, because it takes around one hour and a half or something, so it's just too long to do it. But you know, on occasion we do it, especially during summer. It's a very nice trip, taking the locks, etc. So this is the Ketelvest. This iron bridge here in front of us was designed by the one and only Mr. Gustav Eiffel.
Oh.
Had a project in Paris. You should Google his name, it's very promising artist. Yes. If you love opera, city of Ghent is a good city to go to. Here on the left hand side is a yellow facade, is the back side of the Ghent Opera House. Very beautiful theatre, marvelous venue, gold plated ornaments, a bit kitschy of course. I mean, it's opera, as you would expect. The soul of opera has something kitschy, but it is a high level opera. Works together with the Opera House of Antwerp, by the way. And the city of Ghent is also a good city to go to if you don't like opera at all. Yeah, so that's just the same thing, doesn't matter to us. We have several concert halls, very excellent concert halls, excellent acoustics, good bands, and an example is the Handelsbeurs. The left hand side is yellowish building. And well, also notice the beautiful mural graffiti pieces on both sides of the balcony. Again, well, we're having more and more renowned graffiti artists here in the city. And we also have an alley, a very small narrow street where anyone can spray his own graffiti tags as drawings, which is very nice because it's probably the only street in the entire city that changes every day. And so if you walk through it, you see the changes day by day.
Evet, o grafiti sokağına gitmek.
Some people think it's hard to, or find it hard to believe, but 600, 700, 800 years ago, the city of Ghent was one of the largest European cities for more than 3 centuries. It was a medieval metropolitan city at the time. It had around 60,000 inhabitants. which made Ghent after the city of Ghent, of the city of Paris, the largest European city. And nowadays, well, we are no longer a huge city, of course, but we are the largest student city of the Kingdom of Belgium. And we host here every year 85,000 students, and a population of 260,000 inhabitants. So with that, we are pretty much the youngest city in the entire country. There's always something to do, of course, but if you would also count all the children that go to school, then we have around 150,000 people in the city that attend school one way or another. So lots of creativity, lots of music, fine arts, theater, lots of cultural activities right here in the city as well.
Evet, öğrenci nüfusu çok yüksek bir şeymiş. İşte o
You can
yüzden
already
Brüj'den
see a
daha
small
canlı.
piece of a new city library peeping from around the corner, right in front of us there. We are heading towards the ends of this canal here, and in a few moments we'll have two options. We can go to the left or to the right. Now if you would go to the right and keep on following the River Scout, for 4 days, eventually we would end up in Paris, city of Paris. Okay, off we go. Okay, off we go then. Well, for me it's all good, but my boss, he thinks, Bart, you have 50 minutes, work your magic in 50 minutes, that's all you have. So perhaps next time, So first we go to the left in search for the first of the two medieval castles that we'll see during our boat trip. This one will not be the castle of the counts yet. We'll get there later on, no worries. But first things first, and to get there we need to go underground through the longest tunnels of the city.
Kütüphanenin mimarisi de ilginç. Modern yapmışlar. Şimdi şehrin en geniş kanalına geçeceğiz galiba.
Well, they are tunnels, but they are actually not tunnels at the same time. They were covered up parts of rivers and the canals to escape from the smell and to have more parking space for the cars. 60s, 70s. Tunnel, so we can shed a light on the first of the two medieval castles. Now this one is the Gerard the Devil stone from the 13th century, built by a local count called Gerard the Devil, and as his name suggests, well, he was not a very nice man. To make a long story short, he had a son and a grandson, and in the end they all killed each other for the same woman, so that was the end of the family, really, after which the castle was empty. And it has had many different functions. There has been a prison in here, an asylum for the mentally ill, an orphanage for boys. The firemen have been here. The police has been here. The army has been here. It has been a depot for weapons, guns, etc. And a couple of years ago, this building was sold. And now they are making some exclusive apartments in here. Yes, people will come to live here. Yes, that's the world we live in. There will be some sort of an event space as well. That's very mysterious. We'll see what happens. So let's hope it will be open for the public. But it's a very impressive building. One of the oldest buildings in the city, really. And if you wanted to become a priest, then you had to go to the seminar, to the University of God, which was right here on the left-hand side. The great seminar of the city of Ghent, which is no longer a seminar nowadays. It's a very elite business management school. So if you want to learn how to become rich, then you need to come here, yes, apparently. Once you're in a boat, people start waving at you. Children always wave back. Good for the soul, very important. Adults can be tricky, especially in the late afternoon when the sun is shining and the booze is right there. Be careful who you wave. We are a historical city, but also a contemporary city, student city, and the library is of course a place where many students come and go. So we could say it's a beautiful illustration of the past being reflected in the contemporary. but you know, that's only personal association. If you have a better idea, it's just as
Çok iyi.
valid
Çağdaş
as true.
mimarinin üstünde arkadaki o çok eski kilisenin yansıması var diyor. Güzel bir yorum bence.
And to build the entire building, not one single truck or car had to enter the city center. Everything was brought in via the water, which was part of the concept. So you had these large pontons laying here with everything they needed for 3 or 4 years, I think it was. It was completed in 2017.
Bina da 2017'de tamamlanmış ve şehrin içine araba giremiyormuş. O yüzden böyle yani uzun bir sürmüş yani. Değişik bir şekilde yapmışlar diyorum. Malzemeleri getirmişler hepsini falan bir şekilde.
Here's a graffiti work. It's a Turu, the third. It's actually by a local graffiti artist called Roa, R-O-A. And you know, in the graffiti scene, it's very famous. And he's from Ghent. Nobody knows exactly who he is. He's a bit like the Banksy of Ghent, you know. And you know, he sometimes comes to the city, and that we know because when we see new painting and new drawing, oh yeah, he has been here. Perhaps he's still around. So you have all this vandalism, of course, as well. That's not art, of course, but yes, very nice. And it's a bit chilly today. November 1st. That's how it goes. But well, you know, perhaps you are fearless, so you have an inner ice bear or something, and you would say, well, you know, I'd like to navigate my own boat here. Why not? Why should I be able to take a boat and navigate myself, sail away myself? Why no? Well, why not? You can, you know, no worry, no, it's fine. Anyone can navigate his or her own boat here in the city of Ghent. You're a cool city, man. You do whatever you need to do, you know. The only thing you need is something that floats. Will come in handy. It can be anything. It can be a boat, a canoe, a tire, jet ski, pedalboard, support, a raft, an inflatable crocodile, a log of wood, a tire. We've seen it all by now, really. My personal favorites were some students, and they had the very cunning idea, really, to buy a very large inflatable swimming pool. So they were swimming in the middle of the river, which was very funny, but it also was very clever, because you are not allowed to swim in the rivers. So they dodged the bullets. Yeah, they were very smart. Now, you're not allowed to swim. Why? Because of two main reasons, really. First one are the propellers, the motor boats. It's very dangerous. You can lose your face in less than a second. Your hand. Just keep away from those things. And on the other hand, well, the water here in the city, on average, is not that deep. No, not at all. Tops 3 meters. That's all. So 2 meters of water, of course, and 1 meter of bicycles. Stolen bicycles specifically. That's our core business, as we are a student city in the Low Countries. I don't know exactly what it is, but you go to any student city in the Netherlands, quite often you'll find more bicycles in the water than water in the water. It's crazy. It's amazing. Here as well, we get about 1,000 bicycles every year, which is enough, you know. And 1,000 bicycles is a lot, but it's like 1% of all the bicycles that we have here in the city. So you can imagine a beautiful day, you want to jump into the river, and just a bicycle bag and some very nasty cuts, etc. That would ruin your day, to say the least. So those are the two main reasons. But who will navigate a boat? Be our guest. Nice southern touch. We have many young people. That's of course the reason that there are so many things to do, of course, parties, exhibitions, gigs, performances, you name it, but there are lots of festivals as well, and students don't have that much to do with the festivals themselves. We have very small festivals. We have very large. The largest European city festival takes place every year right here in the city. The Ghent Feasts, the Ghent'te Feesten. We have around, in 10 days time, we have around 2 million visitors. It's huge. It's quite something. And yes, people in Ghent are very good at partying. So I was thinking, not only people in Ghent, but I was noticing, you know, if you see very poor areas in the world, people can party very hard. And the less money people have, the stronger they party, the harder they party. That's a personal thought. And people of Flanders have always been very exploited, poor, etc. So we have a long history of partying. We could say, which we are not really poor nowadays anymore. So I think that's still a kind of a reflection, you know, because the Ghent feasts we have. The first one was 81 years ago, 82 years ago, 182 years ago. That's yes, can be very exhausting, of course. The party is hard. Well, win some, you lose some. Lots of writers, performance, poetry slam, all these things. And the city of Ghent is actually the birth city of the only Belgian winner of the Nobel Prize of Literature, Maurice Maeterlinck. It's a poem by his hand, written in French, because people spoke French. And yeah, also the Netherlands or in Flanders or in Belgium. It's the only winner. He received the prize in 1911. For a bird, a blue bird. The blue bird, l'oiseau bleu, was the name of the book, theater piece, novel for children actually. Here you see this tree, just across the bridge here. It has these origami birds. When it's dark, you pass by, it's beautifully illuminated in blue, so the blue bird. Beautiful postcard picture in front of us, Dominican monastery. St. Michael's Bridge, and then a tower in the back there with the 4 flags on top. That is our next destination.
Tanımadığı insanlara el sallamaları çok tatlı bir şey ya.
So have you just around the corner? Well, around the bridge and right there in the corner, that's a youth hostel nowadays. But this used to be the guild house of the beer brewers, very close by to the church. It's a hostel now, like 20 euros for a night, with a breakfast, with a beautiful view on the castle and on the 3 towers. And this is a very nice hotel here. It's around 500 euros for a night without the breakfast, without the view. So you choose wisely. On the other hand, you don't need to share your room with 20 other people. So here on the left-hand side, you see this white facade on the corner. So we say 1, 2, 3, 4. Now these 4 buildings are, that's all the Marriott Hotel. So behind it, it's all brand new. You can see it in the street. It goes very deep. It's the entire block, more or less. But there used to be separate buildings, and that's a policy here. Most facades, historical facades, are protected. But behind it, well, you can do whatever you want to do. Really, that's yeah. And here at the bricks, this used to be the most popular pub of the city, called the Swan. Perhaps also because it was a house of pleasure. That's we'll never know. But yes. It was a commercial harbor, let's say. It had various sorts of economic activities. A very urgent example. Here in yellow, this was your house, so to speak. It was the guild house of the unfree skippers, the non-Ghentian boatmen. So imagine you're here with your boat to do business with the cargo. You come to your house, I have arrived, okay, welcome. You go to the toll house, you pay toll, then you're off trading, doing business, returning back home. And that's essentially how things, well, have went here for many, many, many centuries. Until not even 100 years ago. But enough about the harbour. The old covered fish market from the 17th century. It's beautifully restored. Building in front of us, it's a party hall nowadays. You can rent it. Parties, weddings, events, divorces, whatever that makes you happy. The Visitor Information Center is right there as well. We'll leave the river once again for a small piece of the lovely small canal that was hand dug in the 13th century to connect the city of Ghent with the North Sea, which was very important with an eye on the further development of the city. This small canal would actually be the start of the great, well, the golden era, the great medieval metropolitan city that eventually would become, remember, 600 and 800 years ago, the so-called second part of the Middle Ages. The last remaining wooden facade that we have left in the city. Most houses were built in wood until it was forbidden to do so because of the London Fire, Great London Fire in 1666, after which the city provided bricks to the citizens, so they would no longer build any more wooden houses.
Renkler çok
And
güzel.
now, most famous and infamous building of the city, which can be only one in the end, and yes indeed it is the one and only Castle of the Counts of Flanders. Yes, we made it. While the dungeons and the cellars, they go back to the 10th century. In those days it was just a wooden fortification. A couple of centuries later, in the late 12th century, it became a stone structure, and at the same time the official residence of the Counts of Flanders. Yes, I know. Which would remain the case for the next 3 centuries afterwards. Hence the name Castle of the Counts. And there is a museum in the castle nowadays, and it's not an interesting collection, torture instruments, it's not beautiful. Now the castle has been occupied only one time in its entire history, ladies and gentlemen. Very strange. Strange enough, because we have had so many wars and problems.
nasıl geldi
Don't know where to
size? Çok
start.
tatlı.
We once had a war that took 100 years, and then another one that took 80 years. We've been around, but only one time, in 1949. That's not that long ago. It was occupied for 3 days and 3 nights. By students, yes, by local students, and they were furious. They were mad. They were angry because the price of the beer went up with 2 cents, which that's what you get. Don't mess with the beer of the students in the land of the beer. I mean, it is the fuel of the future for most of them. So they hide out in the castle for 3 days with lots of barrels of beer, of course. Then the police came, and then the firemen came, and then the army came, then the president of the United States came. But the students refused to leave the castle until after 3 days they voluntarily surrendered because they didn't have any more beer and they needed to do something. So they occupied the first bar that they saw and they went out, and that was the end of the siege. But it's true, because every November 16th, so in about 2 weeks time, once again, students can occupy the castle here for one day. They have a party here to remember the beer war, as we call it. That's a given fact, yes. And it happens.
Anlatırken çok ilginç.
Colleagues of mine have had it twice. That they had someone on board who was witness of the occupation of the castle. Just a student joke, of course, but they had a good story. Now, in the end, the price of the beer never went down. But yes, they had a good story. covered fish market on the left-hand side and great butcher's hall, the covered meat market and slaughterhouse from the 15th century on the right-hand side is being restored currently and already start seeing the difference. It will become a parking lot for bicycles for the next 10 years. Not all people in Ghent are as excited with the idea, but at least it gets restored. At least we can say. The Meat Bridge is the name of this bridge here in front of us. Here on the left hand side you see the oldest neighborhood of the city, Paters Hall. This used to be the city center during the 13th century. And this used to be a very poor, rough neighborhood till 40-45 years ago. Nowadays it has become the most expensive and exclusive part in town. So it goes. But I always advise visitors, please get in this neighborhood. Close your eyes a bit and try to get lost as deliberately as possible. It's truly the best way to experience, well, the historical soul of our city. No, because that's exactly what this neighborhood is. Very well preserved, medieval nature of it, very narrow streets, not 17 streets. Yeah, so you haven't visited Ghent really, fully, if you haven't been in this neighborhood. We also have a folk art museum, the House of Allen. So on the left hand side, very nice with children as well. Very interesting how you can live, how people lived here in the past, or discover how people lived here. And the cheapest pub of the city, right here as well, to hydrate. It's very important. Here on the left hand side, here you see the back side of one of the oldest well, one of the most beautiful streets, I think, of the city, Oud Burg it's called. And here as well you'll find many dozens of nice little restaurants with dishes from all around the world. Well, there's something for everyone, not exclusively here. You go anywhere, you make your own choices, ladies and gentlemen, of course, but it's very nice and cozy, very popular amongst the people of Ghent ourselves. I meet here, you know, with friends once a month or something, you know. Very nice. And the apartment building in front of us there was chosen, elected really by us, the people of Ghent, to be the most ugly building in the city. Yes. Well, you actually have 5 ugly buildings. You also have hideous buildings, but let's just stick to the ugly ones. Now the 5 ugly buildings, so-called ugly buildings of course, are the main reason that the historic center of our city and its hall is not accepted on the UNESCO list of World Heritage, because these so-called ugly buildings are built too tall and too close by the historic center, which is the reason. But we just make jokes about anything, especially about ugly buildings. I think that's very important. But it must have the most beautiful view and trees all throughout the city. Like here now left-hand side, for example, a former textile factory with the original chimney, still standing strong, right on that.
Eskiden burası bir tekstil üretiminin yapıldığı bir kentmiş. Bu da eskiden kalma bir fabrikaymış.
Beautiful wooden boats, gondolas on our right hand side. Now people ask about them, but they have nothing to do with the city of Ghent whatsoever, except for the fact that they are in the city of Ghent. But they are very good. The oldest chimney in the city, 250 years old, still works. There is a bakery down below there. They make these local cookies, not that many people like them, so sometimes they end up in little bags being sold to tourists. They even call it authentic. But they are authentic. The Raging Margaret, the Mad Woman, the Red Devil, Mad Mackie. All nicknames from a cannon. 5 meters long, 16,000 kilos heavy. And well, unfortunately, the cannon never worked. The shells were too heavy. They rolled out of the cannon. Yes, that was the end of the cannon. It's actually the reason that how we became part of the Spanish Empire. It's a bit sad story for us, but I would. Well, please don't tell anyone. But yes, it is what it is. Left hand side, you see the backside of the oldest shopping street of Ghent, long money. That's why we see the doors and the entrances, etc. Because all the goods were brought in via the water. And the store itself, the shop, of course, was on the other side of the building. Now if you see drawings, paintings, several hundreds years old, you would actually recognize many parts of the city, many parts of it. Like here, nothing has changed for the last 400 years, except some balconies, things like that. But just essentially, it's just all the same buildings, and it's still a shopping street. This terrace here behind the bush, yeah, I've seen it, right? Yeah, very nice. It's part of a bar nowadays, but this used to be a washing place, where the women from the surroundings came to do the laundry. They did on their knees, rubbing. Now it's nicer.
Yes.
So with these words, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Believe it or not, you have survived the boat trip. So congratulations, job well done. I wish you an excellent stay, an excellent life, in case we don't meet again. And I want to thank you for your attention. Take care. And have fun. Bye bye. Cheers.